The United States Congress certified the results of the 2024 presidential election Monday. The ceremonial process took less than an hour. The winner of each state's electoral votes were read aloud and met with partisan applause. It ended as expected, or at least as expected until 2021, without disruption or challenges, with 312 electoral votes going to Donald Trump, certifying him as the next president of the United States. This year's certification was a contrast to 4 years ago, when a mob of violent rioters stormed the Capitol building in an effort to forcefully block the Democratic results of the 2020 election. Vice President Kamala Harris spoke after presiding over the process today about the importance of upholding the peaceful transfer of power.
I do believe very strongly that America's democracy is only as strong as our willingness to fight for it. Every single person, their willingness to fight for and respect the importance of our democracy. Otherwise, it is very fragile and it will not be able to withstand moments of crisis. And today, America's democracy stood.
CBS News congressional correspondent Scott McFarlane has more.
The certification took barely 30 minutes and it returned to its traditional form, a low-key, somewhat elementary procedure, ministerial. They read the names aloud of the states and the electoral votes for each. That was the proceeding that was supposed to happen 4 years ago. But because of the insurrection of January 6, 2021, there was heightened awareness about the risks of this event, and there was an army of security outside, a Super Bowl level Homeland Security designation to protect the Capitol complex. That means an 8-foot black metal fence surrounded the entirety of the U.S. Capitol. There were dozens and dozens of federal agents, Capitol police officers as far as the eye could see, trying to protect against the unexpected. All that being said, this happened with a storm cloud, a political version, hovering over the Capitol. The 1,600 Capitol riot prosecutions from January 6, 2021 continue, the largest prosecution in American history. Today, the Department of Justice revealed there are still as many as 200 rioters still being sought for their roles in the attack, including for assaulting police officers. As of right now, about 1,000 of the riot defendants have pleaded guilty. About 600 have gone to prison, and there is this promise from Donald Trump of pardons for all or some of them. That was the political background score playing at the Capitol during today's certification. And back to you.
Scott McFarlane, thank you. I want to bring in CBS News Chief Election and Campaign Correspondent Robert Costa. Robert, it is always a privilege to get to talk to you. Until the last election, this was a day we didn't pay much mind to. So talk to us a little bit about the symbolism of this day and having it run smoothly the way it did today.
Great to be with you. The symbolism of January 6 goes far beyond January 6, 2021. Think about January 1961. Richard Nixon, defeated by John F. Kennedy, had to oversee the congressional certification as vice president to Dwight Eisenhower. Al Gore, in January of 2001, had to oversee the certification of his defeat to George W. Bush. And, of course, the searing memory of Mike Pence, the vice president, overseeing the certification on January 6, 2021, after then-President Trump led a relentless pressure campaign to have Pence somehow walk away from the lectern to disavow the proceedings. We have seen since January 6, 2021, a focus on this moment to make it peaceful by law, to have it much harder to object to an election. You didn't see one person, one lawmaker stand up today and object to this election. So you saw, in a sense, a return to normal on January 6, 2025. But that does not mean the echoes of 4 years ago still do not ring in the ears of so many at the Capitol.
And Donald Trump posted on Truth Social earlier just a photo of the crowd near the National Mall where he spoke on January 6, 2021. We've seen in our polling the number of Republicans who strongly disapprove of the actions of the January 6 rioters has gone down fairly significantly since 4 years ago. What do you make of that?
This is indicative of what I encountered as a reporter on the campaign trail throughout last year. January 6, 2021 was a seismic moment in American political history, an attack on the U.S. Capitol, but its meaning has created enormous division in this country. There is still a roiling debate over what exactly it means and its impact. So many Republicans I've encountered on the campaign trail say they agree with President-elect Trump, that in their view, this was a day that has been overstated by members of the press, by Republicans who are traditional and anti-Trump, by Democrats, and they believe it was a protest that grew violent, but in no way signifies some kind of souring of American democracy or some threat to it. At the same time, so many Americans who watched January 6th remain appalled by what happened and alarmed about what it signals about the coming Trump presidency. And there's been no reconciliation, really, of these two sides. Though you did see Vice President Harris today oversee it in a peaceful manner and showed a steady, almost nonpartisan persona as she oversaw this certification. That's indicative, perhaps, of how many want to move forward, to do just that, to move forward.
Robert, can both be true? Can we be talking about a violent insurrection that we all lived through and saw on screens before our eyes, and people who want to paint it as not as bad as it seemed in the moment?
When it comes to any moment in history, the truth matters. And the truth here is that there was a violent mob that attacked the U.S. Capitol. We all saw it. The images remain indelible in the American political memory. At the same time, you can move on from an event as a country in terms of functioning and having civil dialogue and debate over policy issues without having the shadow of January 6th dominate every conversation. And so we've seen America move on from a civil war. We've seen America move on from a bitter and violent civil rights fight in the 1960s. So the idea that America can move on from January 6th is certainly possible. The challenge here is to make sure that people do not forget history. History happens. It's real. It's the truth. It does not burden you for the rest of time, but you can't erase it.
Robert Costa, well said. Thank you.
Thank you.